Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Today we are potting up my dahlias that I got from Sam's Club. I bought them in February. It's now April, so I've had them for a while. I think they were around somewhere between 8 and 10 bucks for this box. You get 8 bulbs, and they are the balcony mix, which means they don't get too tall. So they're perfect for small space gardeners. If you've got a balcony, if you've got a small patio, even if you want to grow them in your house under grow lights, like they're small. So it's saying that they can get anywhere between 12 and 24 feet, not 24 feet tall, 12, 12 and 24 inches. So 1 to 2 feet tall. Can you imagine a 24-foot tall dahlia? But actually, I've been watching Monty Don, and he has, like, I'm watching the old one. So like I'm trying to start from the beginning. What season am I on? I didn't get to start from season 1 because Amazon didn't have season 1, but I think I'm on like season 6 or so. And he mentioned that he had a tree dahlia in his garden, and he showed it. This thing was huge, and it didn't have any blooms on it. I just saw the foliage and super pretty, but I would be interested in seeing. I don't know if he has it in later seasons where the tree dahlia is blooming, but I would be interested in seeing that because that will be crazy. Anyways, these guys are perfect for small space gardens, or if you want to stick them like in a cut flower space. Let's say you've got a garden bed and you've got your short things, like your ground things in the front. You've got the next height and the next height. These guys are perfect if you need something that is around that 1 to 2 foot height that is blooming. Dahlias stay blooming for a long time. That's why I love them. They come in so many different colors, so many different shapes and sizes. So along with buying the tubers, which I'll show you in a second. Actually, they're right here. So they're right here. I've got some weird little pieces that I'll give you a close-up of very soon. But along with growing dahlia tubers, you can also grow dahlias from seed. And you'll notice if you do this, that at the end of the season, you will have a tuber, from that dahlia, which I think is so cool. You can bring it, dig it up, bring it in the house. I have found that in my zone 6A that my dahlias are overwintering. So they stay in the ground, they come back up. They like, I think May is when I start seeing them. And it's usually when I'm like digging in that area, I forget that they're there, and then I find the tuber and then I just cover it back up. But yes, so they're overwintering for me, coming back up. Not everything is, but like when I start from tubers like this, they seem to overwinter better than the seed started ones that are really tiny. Those ones seem to get nipped by our cold temps. Anyways, let's go ahead and get these guys planted so that they can be ready to plant out in May. Again, we're starting them early. We're starting them indoors. And if you don't want to do this process of starting early and then moving outside later, after your frost-free date, when your soil has warmed up, like I would say when your soil is like 46 degrees and higher, warmer Fahrenheit, then you want to go out and plant these. But if your soil is still cold, you're not going to want to do that because they might rot. And spring is always wet. So just be careful. I like to start them indoors early just so that when I move them out into the landscape, they are bigger. They're going to be blooming sooner because they've been up longer. They'll be closer to their bloom time. And I'll have blooms like all summer through to the very early onset of winter. So up until that frost kills the foliage, then I'll have blooms up until then. So it's time to get them started. Let's go ahead and do that, and I'll stop yammering on. So don't mind all this. I've been doing multiple things on this tray while the dahlia's been sitting here. They've been sitting here for a week now, and I have not done anything because I ran out of soil. I was having car issues and couldn't get to the store. Well, I finally got my car back and I finally got some soil. So it's time to get these guys planted. They were already awake when I opened up their box and took them out. I'm just going to cut this little piece off of here. Dahlias can be divided, and I divided this because you can clearly see that it already has growth here on this. So that might give us a little bit more. So let's count them. Got one. This dude is hanging on by a thread. I'll leave him right there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And look, here's this one. 8 and 9. Now, before I snipped that one off of there, I feel like I would have just had 7 and not the 8 as promised. This guy, I don't know if he will wake up or if he will, because usually when you have a piece like this, you have to have a bit of the, what do they call this? The crown, a bit of this main stem. I've already picked out the pots that I want to use for these, and they are these guys here. I bought these from Amazon in like, it was either like a 10 or 20 pack about 3 or 4 years ago, and I love them. So they'll fit these dahlias perfectly. I'm just going to stick them right in there. And they won't be in these containers too long because eventually I'll either, I think I'm going to put them in my cut flower space. That's what I'm thinking, just have like a hedge of them. Or if I'm feeling like I don't feel like doing that, then I'll just put them into cut like a container display type of situation. So these pots here, and I brought a bunch of them inside from the garage. Let's see. Okay, so we've got a bunch of similar size pots. This one isn't one of the crew, but he's like the same size. So, and then here are the others right here. Okay, so let's just start with what we have on the table. And I've got my trusty bucket of soil here, which I will fill halfway and then cover. Now with these, you don't have to plant them deep. You can plant to where the soil is, just covering the dahlia. You don't need to cover up the stem. So I'll just kind of show you what that looks like here in a sec. I'm gonna take this and scooch it on down there. Now this is a little bit, like this one could go in a pot a little bit bigger, but I don't want to use up a bigger pot for this. So I'm just gonna do it just like this. Okay, so this is just sitting right on top of that soil. I scooched it down in there and now I'm gonna backfill it. And now I have the stem sticking above the soil and everything else is covered. The soil that I'm using today, I got a huge bag from Lowe's. It's Miracle Grow. And I prefer to use Pro Mix, but Pro Mix is not in stores right now for me, so I have to wait until it gets there. But in the meantime, like Miracle Grow is like my backup fertilizer. I'm sorry, my backup soil. What is this? I don't know what that is. So this blend is the Mardi Gras blend. So this is the Mardi Gras blend. So I can get it a random combination of colors. My favorite colors are this orangey corally color. I love coral in the garden. That's my favorite color to look at and see. So, ooh, this guy's looking kind of, he's already got a new root growing on here. So let me see where the top might be because he's a little, he's looking a little strange. So I guess since these guys are growing up that way, I'll just put this in like this. And I could cut these growth points off, and maybe, you know what, I might just go ahead and do that. Maybe I'll just pinch it down to here because that's already dying off. And then this one here, I mean, they're very weak, so I'll just cut them. And then we're gonna go ahead and cover. And we added probably maybe like an inch of soil on there, half an inch, something like that. We're not burying these deep. They don't need to be buried super deep to be able to grow, but you do want to have the tuber covered with soil. Let's see about this. See, look at this. You got this long piece here, which I'm gonna have. I think I will go ahead and cut this. I won't cut it too short, but I'll leave a little nub on there. And then this guy, will just go ahead and scooch him down there and add a bit of soil on top to cover. Not going down too deep. Okay. We got this piece here. Go ahead and stick that in. Kind of pointing these things down or out. Piece fell off. Okay, we'll just leave them in there. Cover with a bit of soil. That. Add a little bit more. There we go. These look so gnarly. I've had them for a few months, so that could be why. I didn't open them until last week, so they could have looked better back in February when I bought them, but they look pretty gnarly right now. All right, we've got a few more to plant. Three more to go. I'm gonna put some of the ones that we're not too sure about in there on this side. How many? Okay, now we're gonna backfill this guy. Okay, so this is the last pot of this size that I have in the house. So I'm gonna plant this and this together. This one has growth. This one is very, 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 very shriveled. So at least up here with the stalk and everything, it's very shriveled. So put these two together just in case the one doesn't wake up. There. So we ended up with 8 containers instead of 9, which is fine. These guys will stay in the house. I'm going to water them in deeply, and then I will only water once the soil begins to dry up on that top inch begins to dry up. I'll water it. I'll also fertilize it when I water. So I'll use a liquid feed, and then water them in. Sorry, I'm not talking well today. But I water them in with fertilizer because many of these already have growth on them. So once a plant is like germinated or it's growing, it's awake, you want to start feeding it or have a plan to begin feeding it right away because it's going to be looking for nutrients to aid in growth. So outside of that, they're going to be kept warm. So in your house is probably warm enough for them. They're going to be near or directly under grow lights. And once it's past my frost free date, which is in early May, I believe like the first or second week of May, then I'm going to go ahead and move these out into my greenhouse. However, if the end of April is showing like stable nighttime temps, I might move them out to the greenhouse earlier than that. But if not, they're going to go to the greenhouse in May, very close to my frost-free date. And then after they're in the greenhouse for about a week, then I'm going to move them to a shaded location. Half of that week they'll be in shade. Then the other half I'm going to move them into full sun, kind of near where they're going to be planted. And then after that, then they'll be ready to plant in ground. The reason that you want to transition your plants slowly to the outside is because you don't want them to get sunburned. Now I have made, sorry, there's a weird car driving by. I have made this mistake so many times of being impatient and moving your plants out into sun, right away, and they burn. The biggest mistake I made was with my bird of paradise plant. I was like, well, I don't really, I knew the information, but I didn't care. And I moved it outside anyway, so I just wanted it outside and out of the way. And the leaves got burned. Like you could see the actual burn on the leaves. Some of the leaves even died off because of that. So if you care about your plants, it's important to take that extra step to transition them and make sure that they are good with the sun. Just because you have a plant under grow lights, overhead grow lights, does not mean that they will be okay going out into direct sun. The sun is a whole different playing field when you compare it to grow lights. Grow lights are like sun imitation. So when you actually put something out in the actual sun, like it has to be transitioned properly or it could burn and it could actually kill the plant too. So that's when you start plants indoors in your house in a protected environment. If you pick up something from the garden center, like you go to Lowe's, pick up a plant out in the garden center, you don't need to transition that. That plant is already ready to go. And let me just say this, it's ready to go in the light that it is meant for. So if it's like, I got this hosta from Lowe's, I'm gonna go put it in full sun, you might experience some burn with that plant if it's a part shade plant or a shade plant. So if you've got a full sun plant coming from Lowe's, it's okay to take it and put it in full sun. If you got a shade plant coming, put it in shade. So that's what I mean by when you get it from the greenhouse, it's ready to go into the right sun that it is meant for. I hope that makes sense. Because it feels like a mouthful and like my thoughts are coming like this, but my mouth is moving. It feels like it's going slower than my brain actually is. Anyways, let me know if you guys have any questions about starting dahlia tubers. We will be starting dahlia from seed. I'm going to do a flower seed starting video and we'll go over the flowers that I'm starting from seed this year. I already picked them out and they are just waiting for me to be ready to start them. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions and I'll see you in the next one.